In this video, we're going to take a look at surface area. Now, it's important to understand what surface area even is from the beginning. And what surface area is of a rectangular prism. It's the sum of all the areas of all its faces. So we're going to take a look at all the faces of a rectangular prism, and we're going to find the sum of all the areas of those faces. So as you can see, the formula for surface area is pretty short. Okay, that's being sarcastic. Surface area equals 2 times the length times the width, right here. Now, why is it 2 times the length times the width? Because it's important to understand with the rectangular prism that there's an opposite congruent face. Okay, so there's 2 lengths and widths, okay, plus 2 times the length times the height. Once again, there's an opposite congruent face, okay, plus 2 times the width times the height. Okay, so that's a pretty long formula. Now, it's important as far as to remember all the numbers that are being multiplied and all of that and added. We'll have our prisms labeled just like this. Okay, so they won't be too difficult unless we're looking at a cube, and we know with a cube all the length, width, and height are all the exact same. Okay, so a helpful hint that you can take with you after this video is it's important to remember that each number has to be friends with all the other numbers one time and one time only. Okay, so don't be too concerned about what is the length, what is the width, what is the height. Just remember that all the numbers need to be multiplied by each other one time within this formula, and you'll be okay. Okay, so what I have here, this is the formula without the 2 times the length times the width plus 2 times the length times the height and so on. What I have here, I'm just going to plug in the numbers, okay? And it's important if you want to set yours up like this will be pretty helpful for you. Okay, so what I like to do is I like to take one number, so I'm going to take the number 7. So I'm going to write 7 here. Now I understand that 7 needs to be multiplied by 2. Okay, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that number 7, I'm going to multiply that by 3 in the next set. Okay, so far 7 times 2, 7 times 3. Now the only two friends that have not been multiplied by each other would be 2 and 3. So I'll just write 2 and 3 here. I'm not going to be too concerned about what is the length, what is the width, what is the height. That'll get really confusing. So I just need to understand within this formula, every single number needs to be multiplied by every other number as well. So it's important to remember that when you're multiplying or whenever you're working with any type of order of operations, that the parentheses always need to be dealt with first. So we have 7 times 2 in parentheses. So I'll have my calculator here. I'll just type in 7 times 2. That gives me 14. It's important to remember that you can use a calculator. So what we'll do is we'll just write 14 right underneath this. Okay, so now we have 2 times 14 plus, now we'll go to our next number, 7 times 3. Now if you know these off the top of your head, that's okay. 7 times 3 is 21. So I will just write plus 2 times 21. Okay, you see I'm writing every single step right underneath the other one. Plus, now I don't need my calculator for this, 2 times 6. Okay? Now, the next step, what we have to do, remember order of operations, we have to multiply before we add anything. Okay? So now we have 2 times 14. We can punch this right in the calculator. 2 times 14. That gives me 28. So I will just write, I'll use a different color ink here, representing the different step. So I have 28 plus 2 times 21. Just type this in the calculator. 2 times 21 equals 42. Make sure I'm using my red here for this step. Plus 42. Plus, now 2 times 6, I don't necessarily need to type that in the calculator. 2 times 6 I know gives me 12. Okay, so I have all the different lengths and widths for my whole rectangular prism here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add all of these together. So I'm going to add 28 plus 42 plus 12. So I will punch that right in the calculator here. 28 plus 42 plus 12 equals, that's 82. Now I'm going to check this. I'm going to do this one more time, okay, because whenever you're working with a calculator, sometimes you can mess up. So it's important to do a problem like this that's a little bit longer 2 times to make sure you typed in all the right numbers. So I'll try it again. 28 plus 42 plus 12. I have the same answer twice, 82. Now it's important to label your units correctly, 82 feet. And since it's area, we're working with square units here. So we'll just write my answer here. I'll write that in this color here. So I have 82 feet squared, and that is my answer. You can see there's a lot of steps to it, but it's important just to stay organized. Use your calculator and you won't have any problems at all. Now we're going to take a look at finding the surface area of a cube, and a cube is very simple because all the numbers are the same. So what we'll do, 2 times, we'll just fill in our numbers here, 3 times 3 plus 2 times 3 times 3 plus 2 times 3 times 3. Okay, now we're going to move to our next step. Remember, order of operations, we always do the parentheses first. So 3 times 3, that gives me 9. So I will just write 2 times 9 plus 2 times 3 times 3 is 9 plus 2 times 3 times 3 is 9. So that's my first step. Now we're going to move on to the next step. Okay, so we have 2 times 9. Now you may know this. This should be a basic fact, so we don't need our calculator necessarily for this. 2 times 9, we'll just do this in another ink here. 2 times 9 gives me 18 plus 2 times 9 once again gives me 18 plus 2 times 9 once again gives me 18. Okay, now instead of trying to figure out 18 plus 18 plus 18, we can just punch this right into our calculator so we don't have any problems at all. We could even do 18 times 3, but I'll just type in 18 plus 18 plus 18. That equals 54. I'm going to clear this out, do it one more time. 18 plus 18 plus 18 equals 54. So I'm going to write my answer in red here. 54 what? 54 centimeters. Remember, it's square units since we're dealing with area. So it'd be 54 centimeters squared. So once again, we like working with cubes. Why? Because all of the measurements are the same. We can just plug in all the measurements right in our formula there. Okay, I want you to do this one with me, so what I will have you do is pause the video and get out your math journal, your pencil, and a calculator, and work right along with me as we're trying to find the surface area of this rectangular prism. Okay, so what I want you to do first is write the formula for surface area in your math journal so you have it. The formula for surface area, is 2 times the length times the width plus 2 times the length times the height plus 2 times the width times the height. So let's make sure we're writing this down in our math journal so we can have it as we're working through some more of these problems today. So I give you time to write this down, and then what we'll do is we'll start plugging in our numbers. Now it's important to set up your problem just like this. So we have 2 times, write your parentheses, write lines representing where the numbers need to go, plus 2 times the parentheses, and so on, just like I have it set up right here. And if you do this, you will not have any problems trying to keep track of your numbers and what you need to add or multiply or anything like that. Okay, so once again with surface area, we're not going to get too caught up in what's the length and width or what's the length and height and so on. If you want to do that, that's fine, but it's important just to remember that every number needs to be multiplied by every other number with your rectangular prism, and you won't have any problems at all. So what I like to do, I like to pick one number. So I'm going to pick the number 5. I'm going to make sure I multiply it by the 2 numbers. Okay, and then I'll just multiply whatever other numbers have not been multiplied together in my final part of my formula. So I have 5 I'm going to plug in 5 there. I'm going to multiply that by the other 5. Then I'm going to take 5 and I'm going to multiply that by 2.5. So I'll write 5 here and then 2.5. Okay, so there's two other numbers that have not been multiplied. That's the 5 and 2.5. Remember, we have two 5's with this problem, so I'll just write 5 and then 2.5. So we have all our numbers plugged into the formula. Then from here, we'll just need to follow the order of operations, take it step by step, and then we'll be completely fine. So the first step here, what we have is 5 times 5, because that's in the parentheses. Now this is a basic fact. I don't necessarily need my calculator for this. 5 times 5 is going to give me 25. If you want to use a calculator, that's completely fine. I'm just going to rewrite the problem, or the section that I have not used yet. So 2 times 25 plus, and now we have 5 times 2.5. This may be a little tricky, so I'm going to put it in the calculator here. 5 times 2.5 equals 12.5. So we'll write that in our problem here. 2 times 12.5 plus 2 times, now we just did 5 times 2.5 in our previous problem here, so that's pretty simple. We can just rewrite the answer, 12.5. Okay, so now we have the second section of our problem written out. Now it's important to remember with order of operations that we multiply as our next step. So what I will do is use a different ink here. Now we have 2 times 25. We can just punch this right into the calculator. 2 times 25 gives me 50. So we'll just write 50 right underneath here. Plus 2 times 12.5. We'll put that in the calculator. 2 times 12.5. It's going to give me 25. So I'll write 25 right here. You can see I'm trying to keep everything right underneath this problem that I was working on right above there. Then 2 times 12.5, that's going to give me 25. I know that because I just did that problem. Now we're going to add these three numbers together. Now to give us our answer. Okay, and what we're going to do, we'll just punch these right into our calculator. So we have 50 plus 25 plus 25 equals 100. I'm going to clear this out and do it one more time. Whenever I'm punching in a lot of numbers, more than 2, I like to do it 2 times just to double check. 50 plus 25 plus 25 gives me 100. So I'm going to write this as my answer. This is my surface area. So 100. Now I need to label this properly. 100 what? Centimeters squared. And that is the surface area of my rectangular prism. Okay, what I'm going to have you do now is just press pause on this video. I want you to work out the surface area and find the surface area of this rectangular prism. And then when you're finished, you can press play and I will have all the steps written out and you can double check your answers. So I want you to press pause on your video right now. Okay, so the answer of this problem is 88 inches squared. I'm going to give you just a couple seconds here to check over your answer, check over the steps that I have up on my screen and see if it matches the steps that are on your paper. So I'll give you a few seconds to do that. Okay, now if you have a question about this, please come and see me, and if you feel comfortable with this, you can move on to the worksheet R10-3 and start working through those problems. So good luck with surface area. Just remember, every single number needs to be multiplied by another friend within the problem, and then you will be okay. Also, it's important just to use your calculator and make sure everything is nice, neat, and organized. So good luck with surface area, and enjoy the rest of your math class.